expected to subside as the afternoon wears on. First playoff game for Richie Hall as a head coach. He says his team is loose and confident. Ended the regular season with 2 lopsided wins, but his team was beaten soundly in 2 visits to McMahon, while John Hufnagel and the Stampeders, they seemed a little tight yesterday coming off last week's loss in Regina, but they did beat Edmonton in 3 of 4 regular season starts.
As he said that he was happy to have the extra day of preparation so they could go through that day of mourning before preparing for this game. Ricky Ray against Henry Burris, 2 marquee quarterbacks. And this is the Battle of Alberta, so you know it will be intense. And here was the pregame. Patrick Kabongo wanting to take on the entire Stampeder football team.
Tossed down the gauntlet, did he? Jeff Pilon got in his grill, but looked like Kabongo was ready to take on the 42-man roster, and that will set the tone. Seems to be a new thing in the CFL. Before big games, the trash talk at center field.
Well, you know you don't have to have a real inspiring pregame speech when these 2 teams meet. If you're the head coach, you just have to open the door of the locker room and let them go. We're going to see an intense football game without question.
Calgary has not lost 2 consecutive games since week 1 and 2 this year. The Edmonton Eskimos trying to win 3 straight games for the first time since 2005, when Ricky Ray, Jason Moss, and the Green and Gold ran the table in the postseason and won the 2005 Grey Cup. Since then, they are 0-8, looking for a 3rd consecutive win.
This game, as I mentioned, features the top 2 passers in the Canadian Football League with regards to yards, and Ricky Ray, who was number 1, Henry Burris, number 2. We also have the leading running back in Canadian football in Joffrey Reynolds.
And Archie Whitlock ended strong, and he finished 3rd in rushing. So as the guys on the panel discussed, could be a lot of fireworks here today. And I'm not sure what they do for an encore after that Eastern semi. Congratulations to the Lions, and what a day at Ivor Wynn.
And an excellent season for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
That after those CIS classics yesterday, what a weekend of football, and it's not done yet as Noel Prefontaine kicks it off, and away we go with Demetrius Summers, and he doesn't reach the 30-yard line. Good downfield cover, and Henry Burris will lead out the Calgary Stampeders, the Grey Cup MVP from last November.
And in 4 games versus the Eskimos, Henry Burris completing 66% of his passes, has thrown 8 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. Joffrey Reynolds, the leading rusher in Canadian football, in the backfield. No Teo Johnson in the lineup. More on that later. There's the receiving corps with Jermaine Copeland. He's had a lot of success against the Edmonton Eskimos, and Jesse Newman back in at guard.
First down at the 29. Why not go to the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League? But Kai Ellis was step for step. And Reynolds unable to turn it upfield. It's a loss of 1 as we set the green and gold defense for you.
One change on the defensive line. Justin Brown goes into the interior of that line. A defensive tackle for Eric Taylor. A late scratch. There's the linebacking core. Maurice Lloyd saying he is taking this game personally. More on that as this game goes on. And then in the secondary that's been together for a few games now with Byron Parker and Jason Goss on the corners.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Eskimos showing blitz as they stack it up front. Burris steps up, underneath, incomplete, looking for Reynolds. And a 2-and-out to start for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, you know, we'll see a lot of Joffrey Reynolds leading the Canadian Football League in rushing with 1,504 yards. He also racked up 11 touchdowns rushing, 6.4-yard average. And the one thing that the Edmonton Eskimos understand is that the Calgary Stampeders, when they are successful running the football, they are successful in the score clock.
So Brooke Dales to kick it away to Skylar Green, who made his CFL debut last week for the injured Tristan Jackson, and had 143 yards in returns. Good boot with into the wind, and here is Skylar Green. Gets a block from McCarty and turns it across the 35. Good return by Green up to the 43-yard line, setting it up for Ricky Ray And the Edmonton Eskimos, the starting lineups for Edmonton, brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL.
Ray just inside of 5,000 yards passing on the season. R.K. Whitlock, great second half of the CFL season, a rookie in the running back position. And there's Fred Stamps. You see Jason Barnes in the receiving corps, Kamal Peterson out at wide receiver. The offensive line who's played their best football in the last 4 weeks.
So now the 2005 breakup MVP goes to work. First down, Ray's looking downfield, and he's got an open man, and Milton Collins lowered the boom. Had Jason Barnes all sized up.
Milton Collins was not going to play the football at all. He wants to establish a physical presence in this game. And Barnes, the wide receiver, is just going to take off. Nothing fancy here. A little inside move, and away he goes right down the numbers. Collins did not play the football at all. Straight through the chest of Jason Barnes to try and set that physical tone early for the Calgary Stampeders defensively.
So Ricky Ray goes vertical early. It's 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush off the edge, and Ray throws high, but brought down by Andrew Nowacki. A first down for Edmonton at midfield.
Strength of the Calgary defense is their corners. Out Dwight Anderson and Brandon Brown are both Western All-Stars this year, and Ricky Ray is going to throw that curl outside to Nowacki, who comes back to the football just in front of Brandon Browner.
Andrew Nowacki has been the forgotten man in this offense in recent games. Just 3 catches in his previous 5, but 13 and a first down for the Eskimos at midfield. Empty backfield, 6 receivers right, and a quarterback draw. Ricky Ray lunges at first for a first down. We were talking to him yesterday about the fact he hasn't run in the second half of the year. Last 7 games, 16 rushes for 63 yards. But it's the playoffs.
It's the playoffs. It's the Battle of Alberta. You pull out all the stops. You do whatever you have to do to win the game, to move the chains. And that's Ricky Ray noticing that big opening in the middle. And he took off. Looked like a play that was called from the sideline.
Eskimos with only 2 first possession touchdowns this season, 1 against the Stampeders. And here's R.K. Whitlock. And he doesn't get past the line of scrimmage. Tay George there to help on the stop.
Let's take a look at the defensive lineup for the Calgary Stampeders. There is Tay George on the outside. Charleston Hughes opposite him with 24 tackles, leads that defensive line in tackles. Tim Johnson has 54 in the middle. He'll be in charge of R.K. Whitlock. And I mentioned the 2 corners. Western All-Stars for the Calgary Stampeders outside, and Dwight Anderson and Brandon Browner.
2nd and long, so Malik Jackson moves into the middle. And Ray steps up again, looking for Fred Stamps, and it should have been intercepted as Ray delivered it short and in and out of the hands of Keon Raymond.
A little bit underthrown, it looked like, from Ricky Ray. He's trying to go right down the middle. The Calgary Stampeders show a blitz. Ray recognizes that he has some more time, but you can see how underthrown that was. And Calgary Stampeders had a golden opportunity to take points off the board if Keon Raymond holds on. Well, they're going to actually, Calgary's going to punt, or Edmonton punt the football here instead.
That wind is swirling around, and it looks like it's almost changed direction. And so they go for the corner, and Noel Prefontaine couldn't have done a better job than that. Great bounce and a 36-yard kick into the corner. They have to start from the shadow of their own goal post, right at the 5-yard line. An early movement, Demetrius Sumpas jumping out of his stance at right guard. A guy that was so distraught after the game last week, he was still on the bench 30 minutes after the game in an empty Mosaic Stadium.
Procedure, Calgary number 67, half the distance to the goal, remains first down.
That was a 30-14 loss a week ago, and John Hufnagel told us it took a day or 2 for the Calgary Stampeders to put that one behind them and try and move on and prepare for this important playoff game.
Dangerous territory here. And they hand hand it off to Reynolds straight ahead. And the corner, Jason Goss, with the tackle on the two-time rushing champ in the Canadian Football League.
Maurice Lloyd will be in charge of trying to track Joffrey Reynolds and limit his production in this game here this afternoon. You can see the numbers that he put up in the regular season, and Maurice Lloyd is really taking this game personally. He felt that it was a little disrespectful for Calgary to start talking about playing Montreal on the 29th of November and going to Regina next week.
8 for Reynolds, 2nd and 5. And Burris over the middle has Jermaine Copeland in front of Randy Drew. And a catch at the 20 and a first down.
A good throw and catch here, good football play all around because Randy Drew is in pretty good position. He's in that bump and run style from the halfback spot as he gets inside position. Copeland just works back to the football, and that extra step back gets him just a little bit of separation, enough to hang on and move the chains.
He's been the go-to guy all year, especially against Edmonton. 22 catches, 407 yards, and 5 touchdowns against the Eskimos. There's the zone read, and Burris to the edge, and it opened up. And he'll step out untouched across the 35. And now the Calgary offense has some breathing room.
Well, it's an awful tough play to defend because the Calgary Stampeders do it so well. Every team in the league will run the zone read play, which is basically putting the ball in the stomach of the running back right there at that junction point and reading the defensive end. If that defensive end crashes down, then Burris keeps it like he did. If the defensive end stays high, Burris gives it to Joffrey Reynolds.
A couple of big first downs and another early movement on that offensive line for Calgary. Looked like this time it was the left guard Jesse Newman.
Tim O'Neill's been rotating into that left guard spot.
Procedure. Calgary number 62. A 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Jesse Newman finally healthy again and won the job back here to start at left guard beside the all-star in the West, Ben Archibald.
Archibald, who was sick for a day this week, and 64 at right tackle. Jeff Belon missed all of practice this week until the walkthrough yesterday with the flu, so some concern on that offensive line. There's a catch made, and it's Demetrius Summers, I believe, with the grab. Check that, Nick Lewis at the 39-yard line.
Well, Nick Lewis got his 1,000 yards on the season, but it took him until week 17 to find the end zone against the BC Lions.
Week 17 for that touchdown, and it took till the final minute of regulation of the final game last week in the regular season to hit 1,000. So 2nd and 7. And over the middle, Copeland, another first down drive.
It's a good drive now for the Calgary Stampeders. They got themselves back out of that real bad field position, and even if this drive should stall now, it still is a success story for Calgary because they were in the shadow of their goalpost there. George Cortez has now worked this ball out, and it's a lot of underneath intermediate throws. High percentage throws for Henry Burris. Little of that zone read play we saw, and now Calgary's got that field position back.
12 to Copeland, and back into the hands of Reynolds. Cracks it for a couple near midfield. Joffrey Reynolds put up such impressive numbers, but when you look at his playoff totals, it's a little surprising. 5 postseason games, just 211 yards.
He's just had that. He's taken his game, though, Chris, up a notch this year without question.
Career high 1,504 yards. 2nd and 8. Burris bouncing around, and on the sidelines, a catch is made there by Robbie Bryant. And that's going to be another Calgary first down.
Scott Gordon, the safety on this play, number 26, is trying to time a safety blitz in the middle as he comes up the field. Watch Henry Burris put the brakes on his cadence and then reload it. And now he knows what defense Edmonton is going to run. He moves around in the pocket, buys himself an extra second, and moves the chains on the outside.
Good looking drive here for the Stamps. It started at their 5 and actually backed up to the 2.5. Reynolds, crease, and dragged down by T.J. Hill, but another Stamp first down to the 36.
I believe it's Jesse Newman's going to lead this one out. He gets a good block and gets to the second level onto Maurice Lloyd, the middle linebacker, and this is going to cause problems. There's Newman in there in the middle at that left guard position. Watch him come out and get onto Maurice Lloyd there. Just get enough of him at the point of attack. Lloyd has to try and duck underneath that one, and that gives Joffrey Reynolds a little seam.
12 for the MOP representative out of the West, and back into the hands of Reynolds. Down to the 32 and 4 more.
A confidence-building drive, and when these two quarterbacks, Chris, meet each other, Henry Burris has said throughout the season, played each other 4 times. He understands and respects the abilities of Ricky Ray, and he says, the best thing I can do is stay on the field. And regardless of what we do points-wise and things like that, we got to stay on the field and keep Ricky Ray on the bench.
Keep him cold on the sidelines. 10th play of the drive. But a trouble for Burris, and a flag goes down, and Henry will be stopped short of the first down, pending the penalty dragged down by Kai Ellis and a host of green and gold.
It's a holding call against the Calgary Stampeders. Depending on how short this is.
Yeah, what's your decision here? Do you give them another down and try and force them out of field goal range?
It just depends on how short Henry Burris was on that run, because if he's around a yard, even a yard and a half, possibly 2, you might want to take the penalty here. And you give them another down, but they've got 2nd and 15 basically.
Holding. Calgary number 65. A 10-yard penalty remains, 2nd down.
Ben Archibald, the finalist out of the West, as the top offensive lineman, and that'll push it back 10.
Yeah, and it does give Henry Burris, Ben Archibald down at the bottom.
So 2nd and 16. 5 receivers set. Burris a pump, and he's going to have to eat the football. Taken down back at the 49-yard line.
And the Edmonton Eskimos just sent 4-man pressure and tried to keep Henry Burris contained in there and then try and get the coverage from behind. And when Burris snaps his football, well, they do send Maurice Lloyd to add the 5th guy, but they're going to keep him in the pocket. Good coverage downfield and no target open for Henry Burris.
Quarterback sack for Kai Ellis, who had 6 in the regular season, 2 against the Stamps, and was the top defensive player for Edmonton. Now Dales looks for the corner. Ryan Parker out of bounds across the 20-yard line. Edmonton football when we come back. Yards. Good field position was gained, but we're still scoreless. Takes the Whitlock and on a roll. Ray looking downfield. McCarty unable to bring it down.
Well, the 2 names on the marquee for this one, though, Ricky Ray and Henry Burris. And even though they're such different quarterbacks style-wise, boy, their numbers are almost identical. When you look at career numbers, both over 32,000. Look at their completion percentage, neck and neck there. You look at the season, Ricky Ray had 4,916, and right behind him, Burris at 4,831. They put on a show when they go head-to-head.
Burris 11 and 7 head-to-head against Ray, but Ray's never lost a Western playoff game. 2nd and 10. Crosser caught. Ephraim Hill cuts back to the 31 and has a first down. Hill's been a valuable guy for the injured Maurice Mann. One of the reasons Ricky Ray says this is the deepest receiving core he's had in Edmonton.
They're real happy to have a guy like Ephraim Hill that they can lean on. First touchdown last week versus the BC Lions on the season. first in the CFL, but when you could step in and make plays for Maurice Mann, absolutely, that's called depth.
Just his fourth game. Jason Barnes, a late season addition as well. And Archie Whitlock looking for some room as it piled up and he slid off for 3 yards. Archie Whitlock, who finished third in CFL rushing with a real second half push and 165 yards last week in Vancouver.
Really great second half to the season. 886 yards in the last 9 games, which really represents close to 70% of his rushing yards on the season. That offensive line over the last month playing their best football, and Archie Whitlock is benefiting from it.
2nd and 8. 5 receivers out, and there's the completion of Barnes. And the Edmonton Eskimos putting together back-to-back first downs.
One challenge for the Edmonton Eskimos this year, Chris, has been playing here at McMahon Stadium. When they play over a Commonwealth against the Calgary Stampeders, it's been close games both times. In fact, right down inside a minute in both those games. But they have not performed well, especially offensively here at McMahon. And this is a good start for Edmonton, considering what's happened in the regular season.
But they earned some traction in the last 2 weeks. Wins over Toronto and BC, got the offense moving and out of the backfield. Whitlock the catch, and he'll be marked out just short of the 50-yard line.
Sets up a great matchup for the Edmonton offense, who are starting to get their feet underneath them under the leadership of Kevin Strasser, the offensive coordinator, who knows well the defensive coordinator for the Calgary Stampeders, because they were together in Edmonton in 2000 briefly, and also for a few years in Montreal. Chris Jones and Kevin Strasser go head-to-head in the strategy here in this one.
5 years on the sidelines together, now opposing each other. Second down, Whitlock's got a first down across midfield. And some heavy contact there as he's pushed ahead inside the Calgary 50.
You know, Archie Whitlock, we mentioned his second half and how it's tied into the play of the offensive line, and Calvin Armstrong, the Western All-Star at right tackle. He and I had a nice conversation yesterday in the walkthrough about Archie Whitlock, because Whitlock was the third option for Richie Hall with what they came into training camp with Calvin McCarty and Jesse Lumsden.
12 yards for Whitlock behind an offensive line that's been earning rave reviews in recent weeks. 6-pack receiver package, and a catch underneath is made at the 44 by Calvin McCarty.
And Armstrong turned to me and I asked him about Whitlock. I said, what part of the regular season, was it Labor Day? When did you think that Whitlock was going to be a top-notch running back? He said, how about the first day of training camp? Turned around and said, boy, he made some guys miss in that first day of training camp. And I just thought, wow, this guy can play. He says, I love having a back like that, because if you miss a block by mistake, he'll make you look good.
Eskimos moving the football, 2nd and 5 off the edge pressure. But Big Stamps has it down inside the 25-yard line. Ray Stamps, his favorite target and the leading receiver in the CFL on the final play of the opening quarter. 21 yards. Ray Stamps. Always fresh, always.
And doesn't get much closer in that first quarter. A clean first quarter with no turnovers. Both teams understanding the urgency and the importance of this football game. Time of possession almost identical.
Thought that was as good a first quarter as you can have without any points.
Yeah, that last play to Fred Stamps from Ricky Ray is probably the longest passing play of the first quarter, and you're going to see that passing game start to develop more, but you could see the balance in the offense. They're both getting both their running backs, Archie Whitlock and Joffrey Reynolds, going offensively, and I like that there was no turnovers. They're being careful with the football.
Good drive by the Stampeders, over 6 minutes to gain some field position. But now the Eskimos are threatening after the 21-yard pass play to Stamps that has given Edmonton a first down at the Calgary 23-yard line. And what else would we have expected with Ricky Ray dueling Henry Burris? Four receivers head to the wide side. That Bergeron stayed in a tight end. Whitlock dancing. R.K. Whitlock down near the 5-yard line.
Patrick Kabongo, the right guard, is the outstanding Canadian nominee for the Edmonton Eskimos and their outstanding lineman nominee for the Edmonton Eskimos. And boy, does he open up a nice hole at the point of attack here, right for Edmonton, as he steps up and makes a nice block. On the defensive tackle, you get a pull from the backside by Joe McGrath, the left tackle, and R.K. Whitlock is off to the races.
First and goal from just outside the 5. Back into the hands of Whitlock. A little stutter step. Dropped at the 3 and pushed back. 3 times he's hit 100 yards or more in the last 4 weeks. And that's news in Edmonton, where they've only had 10 100-yard rushing games in the last 5 years.
279 yards for R.K. Whitlock. And I talked to him about the fact that 2 of his offensive linemen in the last 2 weeks on Friday nights were the gladiators of the game. He said, you know, if I had 5 watches, I'd give one to every one of those guys. They've been unreal.
A lot of blink on that offensive line. It's second and goal from the 3. Whitlock again. Not going to get there. And that defensive line for Calgary is stout.
Well, they bent a bit. They started to bend a little bit, but down here they really filled the gaps nicely, got that low pad level, drove up and through, and R.K. Whitlock has to run over that big pile that's created right behind center Aaron Fiacconi.
So they come up 2 yards short and send the field goal team on.
I know this would be tempting for Richie Hall, but this is the right decision in a game like this.
Just going to ask you.
No. No way. Take the points.
From the 9. And Prefontaine opens the scoring in the Western Semi. The visitors up by 3. Teo Johnson, a guy Calgary would love to have in the lineup, but are glad to see just on the sidelines. And with more, here's Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. That's right. In a week where teams try to keep distractions to a minimum, the Stampeders had to deal with a big one when they learned that their friend and teammate Teo Johnson was stabbed at a concert Thursday night. The good news is Teo Johnson is okay. After spending a night in the hospital, he was able to rejoin his teammates Saturday morning for the walkthrough. He addressed the team, apologized for being a distraction, reminded them that they had a football game to win, and Teo Johnson expects to play next week. But of course, the Stamps have to win today in order to get that opportunity.
That is the good news. He could be available. Here is Demetrius Summers. Still going. Look out. Demetrius Summers. Mark Rostelli saves the touchdown. But Demetrius Summers has the biggest kick return for Calgary since the season opener when Titus Ryan went coast to coast.
Talk about a momentum swing. You can get it on the special teams. Demetrius Summers, about a 25-yard kick return average this season, but he has come on of late over the last month in the return game. He finds a seam right up the middle, bounces to the outside, and then it looks like he starts to tire a little bit at the end of the run and start to get that back lean. But what a return, and we'll see if the Calgary Stampeders now can take advantage of that momentum.
Greg Peach missed him at midfield, and Summers goes 90 to set up Calgary at the Edmonton 12. Joffrey Reynolds down to the 7. Scott Gordon comes up with the football, but after the whistle had sounded.
Interesting there that in order to help stop Joffrey Reynolds, the Edmonton Eskimos will bring Scott Gordon down on that play, the safety. Now, if he's going to come down that low to the line of scrimmage to help on the run, they make that defense a little vulnerable to the pass over the middle. But Edmonton Eskimos clearly trying to key on number 21 early.
Calgary trying to cash, 2nd and 6. Burris in trouble, flagged down, likely coming back. And the pass incomplete, looking for Cote on the goal line.
No right guard Dimitri Sumpas was tangled up with one of the Edmonton Eskimos. I believe it was Justin Brown in the middle. Cote, of course, in for Teo Johnson.
Calgary number 67. That penalty is declined. Third down.
So both teams get it inside the 10, but Edmonton kicked 3, and now John Hufnagel's Stampeders will settle for 3, or at least a 3-point attempt. DeAngelis, another terrific year.
When you talk momentum, Chris, this is now a win for Edmonton. That big return, momentum swings back when you can hold Calgary to a field goal attempt.
So Edmonton has a great offensive drive, and Calgary's defense gets some momentum from the stop. Big special teams play by Demetrius Summers, and Edmonton may have got the momentum back. And we're right back at square one, tied at 3. 3 minutes and 35 seconds into the second quarter of the Western semifinal, and we're tied at 3. As DeAngelis gets set to kick off. Short kick last week against Saskatchewan, kicks it deep, and Skylar Green's got it across the 25. Good return for Green up to the 44-yard line.
Calvin Armstrong in our conversation said one of the reasons their running game is going stronger is because they've simplified, and Armstrong is a big reason for that. They've gone to a real basic play called the counter play, where the right tackle in Calvin Armstrong will pull. When he pulls, he can get onto that linebacker at the point of attack. He's not suspecting a block from the other side of the formation. It was successful last week versus BC. They've run it tonight, or today, rather, against the Calgary Stampeders.
Armstrong, a Western All-Star. First down, and Ray looks downfield. That Bertrand handcuffed by that.
Let me show you what that looks like in the X's and O's on the chalkboard. As you can see the base blocks at the point of attack, and then on the backside, there's Calvin Armstrong, the right tackle. He's going to pull around and get up onto the linebacker through the hole. Archie Whitlock just follows that block. Lots of success over the last month for the Edmonton Eskimos there, and they've already shown that play a couple of times against Calgary.
TSN chalkboard brought to you by Olamel microwavable chicken wings. Might be a few of those going down this afternoon. Watching this semifinal doubleheader. 2nd and 10, and Ray's going to air it out, looking downfield, and he's got Ephraim Hill. Ends up dropping the football. Hill up against the Western All-Star of the corner, and the top defender for Calgary, Dwight Anderson.
You certainly can't throw the football any better. Dwight Anderson was on the outside, straight post coming right down over the middle from Ephraim Hill, and Dwight Anderson on that outside shoulder just does not quit on the play. The ball was put right on the money. Hill cannot hang on as Dwight Anderson continues the battle.
So 2 and out after a 12-play, 88-yard drive the last time Edmonton had the football. The left-footed Prefontaine to Marcus Howell. The Winnipeg native dancing around, and good return. Calgary football when we come back in this 3-3 Western semi. Following this game, no need to leave your couch all day.
Grady, Manning, Burris, Ray.
Henry Burris to Nick Lewis over the middle. Scott Gordon brings down Geronimo, but a big first down to start this drive for Calgary.
Well, you can see what kind this play, and as they run this play with the play action here to Joffrey Reynolds, watch how it's going to influence the linebackers in the back as they step up to Reynolds. That opens up the middle just behind the linebackers. Linebackers step up, make sure they're taking care of their run responsibilities. Henry Burris throws it over top of him.
Nick Lewis with 11 catches, 122 yards in last year's Grey Cup game. The hitch, and that one through the hands of the intended target, Demetrius Summers, incomplete.
Henry Burris, after losing the last game of the season to Saskatchewan for first place, said in the media that he would be back in Taylor Field for the West Final. He had also mentioned that he would meet Montreal on the 29th of November. Maurice Lloyd took exception to that. Felt that he was disrespecting the Edmonton Eskimos by saying those things because they have to get through Edmonton to accomplish either of those goals.
Well, Lloyd's been loud all week about that. 2nd and 10. Pressure off the edge and a crosser for Lewis, who breaks the tackle. Another first down provided by Nick Lewis to the Eskimo 40-yard line.
Simple Nick Lewis crossing route here, and it's going to cross right in front of the guy we just talked about, and Maurice Lloyd, who has first crack at him. Nick Lewis, one of the best in the business at those yards after the catch. He runs through the tackle of Maurice Lloyd.
18 for Lewis, another Calgary first down. 3 receivers wide side, straight ahead. Open road, Jeffrey Reynolds down to the 15. Downhill run by the leading rusher the last 2 seasons in the CFL.
Big block. A big block by, I believe, Ben Archibald. You see Maurice Lloyd right here. He fills in that hole right where Joffrey Reynolds is going to run. But watch how he takes that inside leverage and goes down hard. Doesn't get enough help from Kai Ellis on the outside to squeeze it down anymore. And Joffrey Reynolds hits that hole, picks up good yardage.
Safety Scott Gordon saves the touchdown, 23 for Reynolds. And now Burris underneath. And is that a catch? Lewis with another grab. And they mark it just inside the 10. And now say incomplete.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was caught. I mean, Nick Lewis just turns around in the zone here. Did that ball touch the turf, or did he use the turf to pin the ball? If the hands were underneath, it's a catch. But if the ball touches the turf and he pins it against the turf, you can't use that.
Tried to sell it, they waved it off. Double tight ends on 2nd and 10. Here comes pressure, Burris gets outside. Couple of pumps, anybody open? Down he goes, Greg Peach gets him at the 13-yard line as the pursuit from the rookie defensive end finally pays off. And again, the offense is stalled deep.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders by formation have tight ends in the lineup, so that takes away some of the receivers and the targets. One tight end that side, one on the opposite side. So when Henry Burris now is scrambling to go and try and find an open receiver, he doesn't have Jermaine Copeland in there. He doesn't even have him on the field at this point. So now he's just got to scramble. He only has Joffrey Reynolds as a target. He's covered, so he just hangs on to the football, doesn't force a mistake.
So a 15-yarder from DeAngelis earlier, now from 20 out with Brett Ralph holding. And Sandro puts another through. And the Stampeders have their first lead of the day. And he continued all week. Byron Parker was into it a bit. Skylar Green, the return across the 35.
I discussed it with him yesterday, and he couldn't have been more serious about it. He's taking this game personally. I asked him if he was going to address the defense. He said absolutely before the game. I hope they all follow my lead. Now, they attacked Mo Lloyd on that last drive, the Calgary Stampeders. He has also, Chris, been fighting the flu like a lot of players have across the league this week.
Had a hamstring injury earlier this year, played twice against Calgary, still looking for his first win against the Stamps. Archie Whitlock the play fake to Bertrand. Cut down. John Eubanks with a punishing tackle on the big fullback Matt Bertrand, who's not getting up right away.
Yeah, and that's why the quarterback, it's imperative in a play like this that Ricky Ray gets Matthew Bertrand the ball as quickly as he possibly can, because the longer he waits, the more it gives a defensive back in John Eubanks a chance to line him up, time it up, and put a big hit on him like that. And he's going to have to go out at least for 3 plays now.
Bertrand, 243 pounds, usually provides plenty of punishment on the would-be tackler, but on the receiving end that time, the former Laval quarterback shaken up. And while he gets attention, we'll step out. 6:13 left, first half. I think there's more evidence we should be adding Canadian quarterbacks.
Yeah, add, not reduce, if anything. I think it's working fine as it is.
2nd and 8. Ricky Ray over the middle. He's got Kamal Peterson tossed back. Let's see where forward progress is. Close to a first down. Milton Collins, the safety, made the tackle. Looks like it'll be less than a yard from an Edmonton first down.
This is all a read and react situation for Kamal Peterson right here, who's going to come across. If it's man-to-man, he continues across. If it's not man-to-man, well, he puts the brakes on right there. And watch Kamal Peterson read it quickly. Comes across, he realizes his zone drops by the Calgary Stampeders, puts the brakes on, and presents a target.
Our stats man David Moyer pointing out 8 different Edmonton receivers have caught a pass in the first half. Nobody more than 1 so far.
That means Ricky Ray's seeing the field.
3rd down, a yard to go. Eskimos stay out there, and Ray pushes behind the center, Aaron Fiacconi, and should have the first down.
Well, first difficult call, if you could call it that, for the new rookie head coach in Richie Hall in his first playoff game in the Canadian Football League in that role.
And a little anxious here because they are calling the chains out, not immediately signaling first down.
That's about the performance he wanted to see from his football team. Do you want to see your football team play great? He said, no, actually, that's not the expectation. Kind of, you take a double check. He did get the first down. And well, what do you mean? You don't want him to play great? He said, no, if we are consistent and if we are good, then we can achieve greatness. And that was what the message to his team was this week. Be good, be consistent, greatness will follow.
If you try too hard, try to do too much, it's often when you make the mistakes. Well, they didn't get that by much, did they? Just a couple of inches, but all they needed to get a fresh set of downs. And now go deep and looks for Stamps. Stretch it right, you can't bring it in. They've been that close on a couple deep shots by Ray.
Fred Stamps made some plays against the Calgary Stampeders this season. He is open. He's going to run straight that post down the seam now. He is open, ball put right out in front of him to allow him to run underneath it, and he just can't survive contact with the turf. But did he have a step? Now, this will pay off down the road anyway for the Edmonton Eskimos, or at least it should, because that's a couple of times now they've been that close on deep balls, and that should plant a seed in the defensive backs for the Calgary Stampeders' minds that they've got to back up a little bit. They've been beaten a couple of times, just not, the receivers not to be able to hang on.
And some cause for concern here. Patrick Kabongo, the big right guard, is on the turf, getting attention to the right leg, and rookie Adam Rogers out of Acadia has to come on to take the spot of the reliable Patrick Kabongo.
A bit of an emotional leader is Patrick Kabongo as well. Every time he comes out to that huddle, he hustles full speed from the sideline to get out there. Like they're looking at his right knee.
The big man who challenged the entire roster during the player introductions. Winner for the 2nd consecutive year of the David Boone Memorial Trophy in Edmonton for community service. And And they continue to check the right knee, and we'll find out what might have happened to big number 56.
Let's get some push. Looked like maybe the pile came down on him a little bit. Devon Claybrooks looked like he kind of landed right on the right knee, and Calvin Armstrong and Devon Claybrooks, that's 620 pounds, landed right on that right side.
This offensive line for Edmonton has seen all 5 starters play all 18 regular season games. I think it's the only team in the league that had that kind of stability this year. And for Richie Hall, just no quarterback sacks allowed in the last 2 weeks. Kabongo to his feet. The big guy wants to stay in there.
Yeah,
you got to go for 3, Patrick.
Yeah, the rule says at least 3, but it looks like that's good news for Edmonton fans. He will be back. You mentioned Richie Hall talking about Ricky Ray. He said 2 weeks ago against Toronto in a game that was muddy Commonwealth turf, he said, I don't think Ricky Ray's jersey was even dirty after that game. I mean, he has been not only not sacked in 2 weeks straight, but he has been basically untouched in 2 weeks straight.
That was a bounce-back game after Ricky Ray took a lot of punishment in Calgary. Although Patrick Kabongo thought we were exaggerating the amount of punishment Ray took in that game. 2nd and 10, wants to go downfield, and now off the fingertips of Jason Barnes, incomplete. Barnes didn't look like he was ready for it.
Well, they have to play Adam Rogers there at that guard position for a couple of plays, and the Edmonton Eskimos aren't taking any chances because Archie Whitlock right here is going to step up and help with number 50. They don't want to leave him in a one-on-one, so watch 36 stay in. They're going to try and double team, give Adam Rogers, the rookie, a little bit of help, but Ricky Ray can't find the receiver.
Marcus Howell awaits. Fontaine just got it away. John Eubanks off the edge, and Howell had trouble with it. Did he touch that ball? Out of bounds. And whose football is it? They're going to talk about it.
Well, did he touch it?
Noel Thorpe, the special teams coach down there for Edmonton, trying to sway the decision, but Marcus Howell hesitated, and it is Edmonton football.
Oh, boy. I believe it was Mark Costelli that hustled down on the special teams, the linebacker for the Edmonton Eskimos, and it's on a matter of whether or not Marcus Howell touches this football.
That go off his right foot?
You know, I'm not sure it did. It looks like it may be the right hand slightly, but I don't know if it hits his foot. You can see the pebbling come up from the McMahon Stadium turf right there, right in front of his right foot.
Challenge flag is on the turf.
But did it hit the right hand as it's coming through between his hands? Right there. Did it touch his hand there and then bounce out?
So the call on the field is that Howell touched it, and then Edmonton knocked it out of bounds. Find out if we've got enough to.
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the field of the last touch.
Find out if there's enough evidence to overturn. You could tell Marcus Howell was fighting that football as right from there. And does it come off his hand there? And let's check the end of the play. Who got to it last? It makes a right turn there, and Mark Rostelli,
he does
to get it before it was out. And here's Noel Thorpe, the special team coach, down celebrating.
Well, he does touch it. Good hustle from the linebacker Mark Rostelli on the special teams, because he leaves his feet, got it with his right hand, so that looked clean. It's just a matter of whether or not Marcus Howell touches the ball in the air.
So a big decision for John Huffnagel and the Calgary Stampeders here with less than 4 minutes to go. Do the Eskimos have immediate field position and a chance to go in for a touchdown, or is it Calgary football?
Well, and this is how advantageous instant replay is. I mean, a chance to take a look at a play is that close, almost impossible to see live. Ruling on the play is that the Edmonton Eskimos have recovered it, so they're going to have to see enough evidence to overturn that ruling.
Jake Ireland in the command center, taking a good look at all the available replays of this.
But worth it, but worth the look and worth the challenge, obviously, for John Hufnagel.
I think the way that ball made the right turn after hitting the carpet, it could spin off without contact, but maybe the officials on the field felt that was the reason it veered towards the sidelines. Let's take another look, and I don't know if we've got any more conclusive, but we'll blow it up as much as we can.
I was wondering more about the right hand than even the foot, because, and I'm not sure it hits the foot, because it looks like it hits the turf, and that rubber pebbling on the turf jumps up. I thought, if anything, it hit his right hand and slightly changed directions there. And Marcus Howell is not really arguing in a big way.
I was going to say, he's the guy that only he knows, and
yeah,
he's not telling.
He's not looking real convincing on that sideline that he didn't touch it. But, you know, his reaction after the ball bounced was as if he didn't touch it at all, because he turns and looks and just kind of jogs after it. Here's an enhanced look at the foot, and we'll take a look here if the ball hits the foot. And I don't think it does. You can see the white of that number in between where that ball hit the turf and the right foot. So if anything, it hit his right hand or nothing at all.
The dilemma here for the command center is that he needs enough evidence to overturn the call on the field.
Right.
And does he have that? We'll find out. Here's Kim Murphy.
After review, Calgary's challenge has been upheld. Calgary did not touch the ball. Edmonton was the first one to touch the ball. To be a 15-yard, no yards penalty against number 44. First down.
So it's doubly bad for the Eskimos. They don't get the football, and it's a 15-yard penalty because they touched it first. And Marcus Howell receiving congratulations for not touching the ball. So the Stampeders get it at the 25. A huge challenge call. And they'll mark it at the 24. Just under 4 minutes to go in a 6-3 Stampeder lead. Reynolds cuts it back. And he gets drilled by Greg Peach, who really unloaded last week on Martel Mallet. And Peach has had a good finish to the season in his rookie year out of Eastern Washington.
6 sacks on the year, 45 tackles for Greg Peach. And talking to the defensive players for the Edmonton Eskimos about Joffrey Reynolds, so what do you got to do? You got to hit him. That's what he said. Joffrey Reynolds is good at the cutbacks. He's got great acceleration at the hole. And he said the best way to do it is that you don't have to break down too much. You can lower your pad level and go after him and try and put a big hit on him, because he'll try and take on those hits.
We mentioned the offensive line problems for Calgary with illness, and now their veteran center, Rob Lazio, in his 13th playoff game. He missed 5 earlier this season with arthroscopic knee surgery, and now he is down. And with the veteran getting attention, we'll step out for a moment. The NHL on TSN2 continues tomorrow night as Marty Brodeur and the Devils head into Philadelphia to take on Mike Richards and the Flyers. Live coverage on TSN2 at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. And this doesn't look good for Rob Lazio as he needs assistance to get to the sidelines.
You Lazio was injured early in the season. Tim O'Neill replaced him at center, played very well in there. Just got clipped from behind. Looked like Justin Brown maybe fell on the back of that leg.
Lazio to the sidelines, and Tim O'Neill back in there now. He lost his starting guard position because of a nagging injury. Burris on second down takes off, and Henry's got a first down. Lunging ahead across the 45-yard line as the 3-minute warning is delivered to the benches here in the first half for the Western Semi at McMahon. On that thriller at Ivor Wynn today as Wally Buono's BC Lions live another day. Henry Burris with the first down run, and now a one-handed catch, and Nick Lewis has had a big first half for Calgary, trying to stretch out for a little more.
He reaches back, that ball a little bit behind Nick Lewis. He has to reach back with his right hand and pull it in with one hand. Everything starts for this offense between Joffrey Reynolds and the running ability of Henry Burris. Little bootleg there. He gets pulled up by Greg Peach. There's the one-hand catch from Nick Lewis.
Lewis with 19 catches and 271 yards in the regular season against Edmonton. 4 for 59 in his first half. Big by Burris, and he is downfield to run for another first down. 18 on the previous Burris run.
There's that play that the Calgary Stampeders run so well, Chris, and it's Joffrey Reynolds to the right. Watch Henry Burris here, snap the ball. Now he'll hold it right there. Now he's got his eyes right here, and if that end comes down on Joffrey, he keeps the ball outside. Henry Burris, you see him go down to Joffrey. Now he's outside. He's got the corner and the option to run or pass.
So 16 on that last carry. Calgary's rushed for more than they've passed so far. Now they go to the air. Nick Lewis again. Lewis has been the most dangerous aerial weapon today. 21 for Nick Lewis.
Exact same play, run to the opposite side of the formation, and this time you're going to see that same fake by Henry Burris. He's got the good vision as he sees if there's any pressure on the outside. No pressure on the outside, so he keeps it. Now he's got the option to run or pass. When TJ Hill steps up to contain him, he drops it off to Nick Lewis. Awful tough to defend.
Third time inside the 15 for Calgary, looking for its first touchdown. Up by Burris, who almost lost his footing, and now has to throw it away. Doesn't want to make a mistake down there. He almost fell, and then the heat was on.
Maurice Lloyd has to stay wide and be very careful of his running ability. Maurice Lloyd's right here. Watch how he's going to go wide and make sure that Henry Burris does not escape. This gives Burris enough time to throw it out of bounds and save a big loss. Lloyd wants to cut him off first, but the running ability of Henry Burris buys him enough time to just say, okay, everyone's covered. We're not going to take a loss here.
2nd and 10. Calgary's rushed and passed for identical 111-yard totals. Big play, Burris has an open man and overthrows Brett Ralph. They'll have to settle for 3 again. And a missed opportunity that might come back to haunt John Hufnagel and Henry Burris.
Boy, and Henry Burris had what he wanted there because Byron Parker, the corner, had fallen off to help out in coverage on Robbie Bryant. He didn't want to give up. He didn't want to give up the deep pass. So there's Brett Ralph at the wide receiver position. The corner is going to stay real deep to help out on the corner route from Robbie Bryant. See if you hold it there, Bryant's top corner, and see 23 coming way late to that.
Throws made from 15, 20, and now DeAngelis from 21. And DeAngelis puts it through. 9-3. Calgary leads. 1:59 left, and Ricky Ray's got a chance to give the Eskimos a first half lead if he can engineer the first touchdown drive of the day.
Boy, and we've seen when these two teams play, games go right down to the wire, especially this year when they played in Commonwealth Stadium. 2 games there, 1 Ricky Ray, the huge comeback for the Edmonton Eskimos. He found Fred Stamps with just 2 seconds left on the clock. to beat the Calgary Stampeders. The only Edmonton win, but Calgary, in the Labor Day rematch with 22 seconds left, Burris finds Jermaine Copeland. They can go down to the wire, these two teams.
Copeland with touchdown catches in the final minute of both games at Commonwealth. One to win and one just prior to the Ricky Ray magic to Fred Stamps.
How different would those numbers, Chris, be if he had hooked up on the Ephraim Hill deep ball or the Fred Stamps deep ball in this first half? They've been that close to a couple of big plays.
Missed it by that much. Skylar Green cut down quickly. Fern Kashama downfield in a hurry. But those games, the dramatic finishes were at Commonwealth, and now we are into just about 10 full quarters of football at McMahon. And Ricky Ray's Eskimos have been outscored 71-18.
Well, it's a game of split seconds, a game of inches, and you heard that many times. And two deep balls to Edmonton receivers did not come up with the play.
With the drop.
This is small fundamentals, trying to do too much, and that's what Richie Hall has been preaching all week. Don't try and do too much. Just do your job, and Kamal Peterson does his job in all but one phase. The first phase is to read the defense and find the zone. He did that. Then he's got to get himself open, catch the football. That's the phase he misses. He wanted to try and run before he had it.
20 catches against Calgary this year in 4 games, but just one catch in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. For a guy who had 101 last year, 2nd and 10. Blitz is on. Ray steps up. Got away. What a quick hit that was. Shannon James unloading on Kamal Peterson, and it will be 3rd down.
Eventually, you know when you play the Calgary Stampeders defense that you're going to have to beat bump and run coverage. They'll play more zone, Calgary will, against Edmonton because of Ricky Ray than most teams. But in key situations, they go back-to-back, man-to-man. And that's where Shannon James came across the middle on Kamal Peterson, and he didn't have a chance.
Joe McGrath, the left tackle of the Eskimos, limped to the sidelines. And Calgary's going to get another chance before the half is done. Drive kick and a beauty by Prefontaine that bounces out at about the 25-yard line, so no return. 89 seconds remaining in this first half. 49-yard kick by Prefontaine.
Until last year, Henry Burris had that piano on his back. He couldn't win the big game. He couldn't advance his team to the big game, get into that Grey Cup championship. 2-4 as a starter, 6 playoff games. 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but that all went away last year. The win in the Western Final and then a win in the Grey Cup Championship.
Surprised to learn yesterday that Henry Burris only won 5 games in his entire collegiate career. Well, what a pro career he's had. A rope to Brett Ralph, and it's busted up. Byron Parker there, step for step. And the veteran and former Argonaut makes the play.
Again, it starts with that zone read look where they're going to play action, fake it to Joffrey Reynolds and get Henry Burris outside. Now he puts the defensive backs in a bind because they're not sure if they should come up and try and tackle him or stay back in coverage. Parker stays back, finds the ball, turns to it, and avoids any type of pass interference. Perfect coverage by Byron Parker.
Sets up a big play on 2nd and 10 because Edmonton might get the ball back before the half's over.
You're fucking...
3-man front. Pressure. And Burris looking downfield. And what a great break on the ball that was. And again, it's Byron Parker, who told me yesterday that every week he is in touch with his former defensive coach in Toronto, Rich Stubler, who continues to mentor him even while coaching high school in Colorado.
Well, he also understands in playing against Henry Burris for so many games as a Toronto Argonaut that you have to continue with your coverage no matter where you are in the field, whether it's the backside of the play. That time he was, and he closes quickly. All athletic ability. 3 interceptions in the last 4 games for Byron Parker on the corner for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Of course, Robbie Bryant had the big game against the Eskimos here late in the season, over 200 yards receiving. Skylar Green almost tripped, but gets to the corner, and look out! Dwayne Carpenter eases him out inside the Calgary 40-yard line, so Ricky Ray has a minute to work with after a 36-yard return by Skylar Green, who's done a pretty good Tristan Jackson impersonation in a couple of weeks.
I believe it's Jason Nugent, the backup free safety, that's going to get Skylar Green the corner as Green takes this punt. Now he's trying to get to the wall return for the Edmonton Eskimos. And is it number 13 right there at the point of attack that gets him the corner, gets him that one block, gets him outside. Now Ricky Ray has time to look for a major before the half.
They start at the Calgary 37. Ray almost intercepted. Brandon Brown, our closest man to it, intended for Ephraim Hill. Plenty of traffic over the middle.
Sooner or later, the receivers, the wide receivers, and Ephraim Hill, Kamal Peterson are going to have to beat bump coverage. There are opportunities for plays against the Calgary Stampeders deep if you can beat bump coverage.
But you got to beat 2 Western All-Stars on the corner. Eskimos are 3 for 8 converting second down, and it's 2nd and 10. Whitlock still bouncing it outside. Good tough run for Erky Whitlock. It'll be short of a first down, but that enhances the field goal position. And are you surprised by that call?
Well, a conservative call by Kevin Strasser and Richie Hall, but one that in a game that is this close is a safe call, and I guess looking for that element of surprise. Thinking that on 2nd and 10, Ricky Ray for sure is going to throw the football, expecting possible blitz from the Calgary Stampeders, and seeing if you can't catch him in that blitz, find a little crease and pick up big yardage on the draw screen situation.
3rd down and 2.5, so Prefontaine on to attempt a 36-yarder. Jason Moss, the holder. And Prefontaine puts it through. 3 for the Eskimos and a 3-point deficit with 23 seconds on the clock here in the opening half.
Very interesting half of field position. Opportunities missed, I believe, by the Edmonton Eskimos offensively. A couple of deep balls, one to Ephraim Hill early on that was dropped. One to Fred Stabs just out of his reach. Could have been difference makers. Of course, we had the controversial special teams call that was overturned that would have given Edmonton some great field position.
3 times Calgary inside the 20.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampeders as well, having chances. The best red zone team in the Canadian Football League when it comes to touchdowns over the regular season, and have had to settle for field goals here in this game this afternoon. So, interesting chess match.
Certainly is, and both teams getting a field goal off a great return. The 90-yard kick return by Demetrius Summers, and there Richie Hall gets 3 after a 36-yard Skylar Green punt return.
John Huffnagel said, you know, it's been amazing how many times this year Calgary Stampeders have won games in the 4th quarter. He said, I know that sounds pretty obvious, but the plays made in the 4th quarter, just seems that the game is so close until down to the wire.
One of the guys on the panel mentioned it might be last possession wins. This is a bonus point, as they were casual with that. Demetrius Summers concedes 1, and now it's 9-7.
Not really a point you want to give up in a situation like this, but you're right. It looked like Demetrius Summers might have misplayed it or misjudged the ball a little bit there.
I mean, bring it out to the 5. It doesn't matter with 22 seconds left.
That's right. And not with this much time left in the half. And it looked like he might have misjudged it and then didn't want to mishandle it. But they were pretty nonchalant looking at that football, and it bounced right on the 4. No reason for him not, Chris, to recover that and take it up at least 5-10 yards.
Mark that down, because if this is a 1-point game down the stretch, that will be a costly mistake.
Especially when Calgary now is going to just concede it anyway. I mean, you know, you've almost got to do this. The fans here at McMahon Stadium want to see more aggression, more go after it, see if you can get in field goal range with a couple of deep throws here, but that can also cause problems for you and challenges if you have a turnover. So I'm not surprised that John Huffnagel's doing this. It's just I am surprised Demetrius Summers made the error he did in the kick return game.
Interesting opening 30 minutes of football. The Western semifinal set up for a terrific second half. Calgary takes a 2-point lead to the locker.
Go Stamps, go! Go Stamps, go!
Hi.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL and proud home of the Western semifinal defensive duel here at McMahon. 9-7 Calgary as we head to the second half. But first, Jermaine Franklin with Edmonton coach Richie Hall.
Coach Hall, can you talk about the play of your defense holding the Stamps to 9 points with all those green zone opportunities?
Well, I think it's a good defensive game right now. And again, championships are won by defense, and we got to step it up. You know, we did a great job as far as keeping them out of the end zone, but we can't allow them to drive the ball.
Now, in terms of the offense, what will it take for your offense to get going in this second half?
Well, we got to find a way. We got to wheel our way to get across the goal line, because you got to score touchdowns to win football games.
Thanks, Coach Hall.
Thank you.
Marquee quarterbacks, but so far neither has found their way to the end zone.
Well, both will still want to establish their run games. For Ricky Ray, it'll be RQ Whitlock, but he's had some opportunities. That first half had a couple for the deep balls to Ephraim Hill, one to Fred Stamps, both incomplete, but very close. And Henry Burris has had success getting outside of the pocket when he has the option to either throw the football or run with it.
DeAngelis gets us underway in the second half. And Skylar Green on the return. Justin Phillips will bring him down at the 35. Let's check the numbers of the quarterbacks in the opening 30 minutes.
We put them on the marquee. The numbers aren't reflective of that just yet, but there's been many, many times when these two have faced each other, and it's been the second half that the explosion has happened.
There's been a lot of criticism of Ricky Ray this year when they have dinked and dunked and not gone deep, but he has taken shots so far today. A couple of drops, a couple of missed opportunities. Marquee Whitlock, the handoff, nothing there.
It's a good point, Chris, because in the first half there was a couple of plays that were very, very close to big plays for the Edmonton Eskimos. That one over the middle was for a first down. That's a clean drop. Here's the big deep ball, one to Fred Stamps, just out of his reach. Ephraim Hill, there's one to Kamal Peterson, again for a first down. In the last two games, 15 plays have been completed over 20 yards by this offense. So they've been starting to break out with that deep ball and just missing here in this one.
Devon Claybrooks dropped Whitlock for a loss of 3, second and 13. Ricky Ray running out of time. And he'll go down back near the line of scrimmage. As it looked like Tay George was trying for the strip instead of the sack. And Ray was able to hang on to the football.
Tay George is taking a little ribbing from his teammates over the last couple of weeks, coming back from his NFL tryout. Was in Dallas last year and has really taken some time to get back into the rhythm in the Canadian Football League. In fact, Devon Claybrooks called him "can't get right." If that could be a nickname, I guess it can. He said he is starting to get there, but the nickname may stick.
Fontaine. High kick, not deep, but Howell will draw the 15-yard, no yards. So when we come back, Stamps will have the football up near midfield. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check. Shop online at sportcheck.ca. So it was a 15-yard, no yards penalty against Edmonton. And the Stamps opening possession of the second half begins near midfield at the Calgary 53. Double tight end formation. Joffrey Reynolds looking for a hole and across midfield. Down to the Edmonton 52.
Right now, Chris, the Calgary Stampeders do not have Rob Lazio back in the lineup. He's trying to work that knee out on the sideline. So Tim O'Neill will stay at center for Calgary. That doesn't really change anything offensively. They're confident in Tim O'Neill. He played well when he replaced Lazio early in the season. So you can see that they're still going to try and run the football.
Justin Brown to the sidelines. Eskimos go with the three-man front on 2nd and 5, and here comes the blitz. And Burris in some trouble, and dumps it off, and there's Joffrey Reynolds, a first down catch. Tossed out at the 36-yard line. Pressure on Burris, but he makes the play.
Joffrey Reynolds becomes sort of the emergency dump-off guy for Henry Burris here because the blitz is coming right up the middle. Watch 21 sneak out of there and become the only option for Burris in a hurry. They go right down the middle where Rob Lazio is on the bench now, and there's Burris running for his life, but he's got that outlet valve.
16-yard play to Joffrey Reynolds. They stay in the double tight end formation. First down. Play action fake, and that pass sailing incomplete. Fastball through the hands of Robbie Bryant.
It was a strike. No question. There was some heat on that baby, and it was timed up perfectly because Robbie Bryant came out of his break right here. Little double move, and then on the out, and then comes back the ball. He turns around. Real catchable pass for Robbie Bryant, who's had one big game against the Edmonton Eskimos. Over 200 yards in the regular season. Can't handle that throw.
Just one catch last week for 27 for Bryant. Scott Gordon, the safety showing blitz on 2nd and 10. He does come, gets picked up. And again, they dump it off. Joffrey Reynolds to the tackle of Maurice Lloyd. Lloyd had a chance to bring him down. Another Calgary first down.
Yeah, and Chris, this is the type of play that can just ignite your football team. When you see one individual effort like this in Joffrey Reynolds, again, he's the outlet, he's the dump valve for Henry Burris right there, who's in trouble with the blitz, but one missed tackle, another missed tackle. One is by Maurice Lloyd, who we mentioned, said this game is personal to him. Misses in the open field there. That's a good effort.
Reynolds, this time stuffed around the 20. But as they say, when you talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And Lloyd's had a couple of missed opportunities here so far today.
Maybe his emotions are getting the best of him a little early on, because sometimes the emotions can get the best of you. You start to overrun plays, and that time he may have overran the running back a little bit in Joffrey Reynolds, but that's some kind of effort.
Just one tackle in the two previous games he's played against Calgary. 2nd and 6. Quick hitter, complete. Nick Lewis almost got away, but it's another first down at the 10. And Lewis said, you almost let me go there. He smelled Peter.
Just shoestring tackle, as Nick Lewis often plays that inside receiver, the third receiver closest to Burris. Again, the timing is there. The quick throw on the out, so he doesn't allow Nick Lewis to get too far to the sideline and too close to Byron Parker.
#1 team in the red zone this year, 67% scoring touchdowns. 4th visit looking for their first touchdown of the day. Into the end zone, incomplete. Bryant unable to come up with it. And it will be 2nd and goal from the 9.
That same play where they got the options here, and it's Burris. There's one option here. They go with that one to Joffrey Reynolds. He takes a look, says, no, I'm not going to give him there. Defensive end Kai Ellis went down with him. He's got the option to run. That run was eaten up by Scott Gordon, the safety, and that should have been a touchdown throw for Henry Burris, but dropped by Robbie Bryant.
Bryant without a touchdown this season, neither for Winnipeg or here in Calgary. 8th play of the drive, 2nd and goal. A pump, end zone, touchdown. R.J. Franklin has his first touchdown as a Stamp. And finally, the opening touchdown of the Western semifinal.
Well, Henry Burris is going to bring in his regular offense down in the red zone in this game so far. When they've settled for field goals, they've come with the tight end formation. He's going regular offense, and he finds an open receiver in R.J. Franklin.
The point is good, and now a 9-point Calgary lead.
Henry Burris takes advantage of a busted coverage by Anthony Marlborough, defensive back here, who's got to get back to the deep middle of the field in between the hash marks. He is influenced by Nick Lewis. Okay, here we go. Marlborough here's got to get over here, but watch, he sees Nick Lewis coming across underneath, so he stops right there, doesn't get back to the middle, opens up the seam to R.J. Franklin. Great recognition from Henry Burris.
Eskimos need a response. Skylar Green's got a return, slicing through the crease and into the open field. This is the response from Skylar Green. Eskimo touchdown, 93 yards. Skylar Green. Tristan who?
Wow. And McMahon Stadium is silenced. And he does it on his own. He needs one block once he turns the corner. And I believe it'll be Kelly Malvo, number 27. But here he comes from the left side all the way to the wide side of the field. A key block right here. He gets a little bit of a seam, a cut back in the open field. That was Calvin McCarty on that block, and away he goes. It's just speed.
Stampeders 16. Punt return, set up a field goal in the first half, and now he goes the distance. And once again, it's a 2-point Calgary lead. And the Eskimos sidelines has some life.
They've been trying that wall return a bunch of times in this game, Chris, and they've had some success with it, not as much as this, but here's the Malvo block right there. Watch as he gets Shannon James, a kick-out block right there from Calvin McCarty, and that opens up a seam as Skylar Green hits the corner. Now he cuts back against the flow of traffic, and then it's straight speed, and boy, does he have a bunch of it.
Well, you knew the next offensive series for the Eskimos was going to be important after the Calgary touchdown, but Ricky Ray only has to raise a hand in celebration.
Never seen it like this before, huh?
There's only one kick return for a touchdown in the regular season. And Skylar Green, who led the NCAA in punt returns one year,
I ain't never seen it like this before.
has made an impression.
87, Eskimo.
We got his number.
Yeah, we got his number now.
Mark Caliste had an initial shot at him at around the 30, but once he came up empty, Skylar Green was away to the races.
see me all day. All day.
Part of this
Helped generate 10 points for the Eskimos.
Yeah, part of this, Chris, is yes, the speed and abilities of Skylar Green, but also the scheme that's been set up by Edmonton. And special teams coach Noel Thorpe has done a nice job of setting up that wall return, something we didn't see a lot of from the Edmonton Eskimos last couple of weeks, and they've set it up nicely. They've got Skylar Green to the outside twice, one set up a field goal, and then that big return to answer the Calgary touchdown by R.J. Franklin.
Prefontaine sends it deep. Summers from his 12. He's had a big return today. And he's pop loose. The Eskimos get the last touch. The ruling is Calgary football. And we might see a challenge on this as that ball was dropped on the carpet in bounds.
Now, Rod Davis was right there. Tim St. Pierre turned him in. Ball's on the ground now.
And, oh, it looked like it was out.
Ritelli can't, Mark Rastelli cannot touch it. He's out of bounds and out of play.
Oh, did Rod Davis get it before it was on the chalk? Don Carmichael, the back judge, right there. And looking at the Eskimo bench to see if the challenge flag is out or not. Injured Edmonton player. And it's Tim St. Pierre who is getting attention. One of the reserve linebackers.
Which gives Richie Hall a chance to make a decision on whether or not he wants to challenge that.
Looks like the Eskimos are not going to challenge.
No. Well, the ball is out, so there's no question it's a fumble. Now, Mark Rastelli there goes out of bounds here and then would make himself ineligible. And I'm not sure if there's...
Wow, it looked like there was a little green there.
That's what I'm saying. There's a little bit of green.
We're going to get the challenge flag. I think that last replay was enough for Richie Hall.
Hard to tell. Well, that one look. Rod Davis is eligible to touch it. Does he touch it before it touches the white stripe, though, right on this bounce?
This was the angle that looked like it might give the Eskimos a case.
Edmonton is challenging the ruling on the field of last touch.
If the ball is touched right there, it was still in play.
Yeah, and Chris, when we look at that angle again, it looked like the ball was in bounds. The question is, can you see Rod Davis touch the ball at that moment? And from that angle, it looked like he was blocked by his teammate, Mark Rastelli. The second one in this game, if you're just joining us, there was an overturn call on a very similar situation in the first half.
Very hard to determine whether Marcus Howell touched the one in the first half. The Eskimos personnel at halftime were still not happy with the overturn call in that case. Our guys in the truck are trying to enhance the view here to give Jake Ireland a better look.
The ruling on the field stands. Calgary was the last player to touch the ball. Edmonton has not charged a timeout as this was their first challenge.
Well, the only thing, Chris, is that you can't see Rod Davis touch the ball there. That's foul. I don't know.
I think Jake Ireland might have wanted another look at the enhanced view. Robbie Bryant's got a catch and a first down. Calgary's last offensive possession, they went 8 plays, 57 yards for a touchdown, and then had the wind taken out of their sails by the Skylar Green kickoff return for a major.
Boy, and I tell you what, that's 2 calls in the kicking game. Would have been instant field position for Edmonton in both cases that have gone in Calgary's favor.
11 for Robbie Bryant, a first down. Up at the 43. Joffrey, and there's Mo Lloyd to close quickly and bring down the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, and that's likely what Mo Lloyd did when he went in at halftime, is just to settle down a little bit. He was pretty emotional coming into this game and was overrunning a couple of plays that he normally makes that are routine plays for him. 58 tackles on the season, a great tackler in the open field. Missed a couple in the first half, likely calmed himself down a little bit, now is just going to step up in the hole like he's normally does.
Guy who was key in the 2007 Rough Rider drive to a Grey Cup, trying to earn a spot in the Western Final against his old team. That pass incomplete, intended for Bryant, and Calgary's going to have to kick the ball away.
John Huffnagel mentioned it. These two teams, it usually comes down to the fourth quarter.
And it may come down a lot later than that.
Interesting season for Calgary. At times they've had issues of a little complacency. John Huffnagel had to take him off the practice field one day earlier in the year.
Here's Skylar Green. This time pulled down by Caliste just across the 30-yard line. Midway through the third quarter. Last time these two teams met in the playoffs, 2005 Western semifinal. Ricky Ray just wasn't getting anything done, so he went to the bench, and Jason Moss came on. 15 of 18, 144 yards, and this touchdown to Jason Tucker led the Eskimos back. With more, here's Jermaine Franklin.
That's right, Chris. Thanks. The Stamps were favored heading into that West semifinal, but they also remember they were favored coming into here, but they'll never forget what happened 4 years ago when Jason Moss did take over in that second half, when things were looking pretty good for the Stamps. But as you mentioned, the numbers he put up, the touchdown, and the fact that the Eskimos outscored the Stamps 21-3 to shock the hometown crowd and the Stampeders. The Stamps won't take anything for granted.
Jason Moss, over a decade in the Canadian Football League, and he calls that his most memorable moment. They weren't suggesting there should be a quarterback change here, just reliving some history. Let's see what Ricky Ray can do. He's a field goal away from the lead, a pump, and deeper, and Stamps has got it. Taken out at the Calgary bench. It's a first down at the Stampeder 51.
Well, they've been close. They've been close on a lot of these deep throws, but they've been over the middle. This time, they're going to go Fred Stamps in the one-on-one on Keon Raymond, and Keon Raymond wants to take away that middle because in the first half, that's where Ricky Ray was trying to beat them. Down the post pattern, down the seams. This time, they run the corner route to the sideline. Perfect throw.
Nice footwork to get that right foot in. 3 touchdown catches during the year against Calgary. Marky Whitlock, and he's down to the 47.
You know, you talked about the history of these two teams in the semifinal games, and you go back even further to see some more history. 1999, again at Calgary. Calgary Stampeders beat Edmonton in that game, and Dave Dickinson was the key player in that one with just shy of 300 yards passing. Go back to 87, they played in Edmonton, and our guy in the studio, Matt Dunnigan, threw for 280 as the Edmonton Eskimos beat Calgary.
Game like today, you expect the big names to come out. Big play here for Ricky Ray, 2nd and 6. Carpenter drops off underneath Peterson, close to a first down.
Close.
Let's see where they spot this football.
Close enough that Richie Hall, who's already gone on a 3rd down and a full yard earlier in the first half, would likely take a crack at it. So, of course, Dave Dickinson, just to wrap up that thought, is the running backs coach right now for the Calgary Stampeders. So the 3 principals in the last 3 semifinal games involved tonight.
3rd and less than a yard. The offense stays out. And the big boys hunker down. Ray sneaks again, flags down. And did Calgary's defensive front line up offside?
You don't know what the percentages are, but I would have to say it's over 70 on, well, Tim Johnson is pretty enthusiastic about the fact that they stopped him.
Might not have seen the...
Offside, Calgary number 95, a 5-yard penalty, first down.
Let's take a look. Looked like a full yard. There might be a hand just inside. No movement up front.
So apparently that hand was not 36 inches from the ball,
but 35.
First down. And Ray taking a shot. Bill Stamps. Incomplete. He had another battle downfield.
Yes, he did. John Eubanks hanging on. I mean, he had the one-on-one with Stamps, and this is his first season in the CFL. He's going straight down the field with them. There's Stamps, and nothing fancy about this. He takes off. They've got him on the corner route earlier in this drive, so 29's just in chase now, and a little bit of panic as he arrives. Hey, Calgary Stampeder with an interception this year against Ricky Ray has been John Eubanks.
Stampeders with only 5 interceptions in the last dozen games. 2nd and 10. Lysak, the blitz. Crosser's complete. And another first down. And Andrew Nowacki has his 2nd catch of the game. Just 1 catch or under in 6 of the last 7. But Nowacki makes a couple of big catches here. We do have a marker. And is this one coming back?
Interference, Edmonton number 81, blocking downfield prior to the pass being complete.
Jason
10-yard
Barnes.
penalty remains, 2nd down.
Well, that's costly.
Well, it is. It was on the wide side of the field. Nowacki cuts underneath of Jason Barnes. Barnes is right here. He's going to go straight down here, and then Nowacki outside cuts underneath him. And he gets called on basically the pick or blocking downfield with the ball in the air. The ball in the air, you can't make contact.
Well called. Yep. Now it's 2nd and 20 back at the 48. That took about a field goal range. Whitlock will try and get him back in. And he'll be stuck with the 45. Nothing doing there. Brought down by Jim Davis, the former Edmonton Eskimo.
Excellent pursuit from Devon Claybrooks to first turn R.Q. Whitlock inside. The whole idea there from the Edmonton Eskimos was just to get back in field goal position. As you mentioned, Chris, not to try and get the first down. That was too far. They're going to try and get in field goal position, but the quick response from Devon Claybrooks and then Jim Davis from inside out helped out.
Prefontaine's longest on the year, 49. He's made only 1 over 45, so the punt team comes on and they'll play for field position, try and pin the Stampeders deep. Line drive boot. Howell fields it on the 6. And he's pushed out at the 14-yard line. NFL Monday Night Football continues on TSN tomorrow night. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Live coverage at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific.
Been enjoying John Gruden's work.
Yeah,
in the booth. Good job, color analyst. I'm sure it won't be for long. Be coaching.
Does he still get up at 2 in the morning?
He'll be coaching again soon.
Joffrey Reynolds straight ahead. Greg Beach with the tackle on the Reynolds cutback. And once you get into the booth, you can sleep in all day.
A way to give up the secrets. Good cutback there from Joffrey Reynolds, that's really been his staple over the years, and he's built on that through this season and become more of a front side runner with the help of Dave Dickinson as his coach.
2nd and 3. Back to Reynolds. First down, Malloy. Drill him at the 25. But a valuable first down for the Stampeders deep in their own zone.
And it does another thing, Chris, is it allows the offensive line to, in the first in the first 2 plays of this series, just go ahead and drive off the ball. And that gets them a little bit of confidence too. It plants a seed in the mind of the defense, and they've got to take care of Joffrey Reynolds even late in the game.
Joffrey just set a career best in the playoffs, 84 yards, 83 was his best prior. Nick Lewis is having a good afternoon, and another catch close to a first down for Nick Lewis.
Well, they love this bread and butter play, and that's the zone read that we've talked about. The Calgary Stampeders run it better than anybody in the Canadian Football League, and it gets Henry Burris out on the edge. When they've had success offensively against Edmonton, they've attacked the perimeter like this, with Joffrey Reynolds on the fake up the middle and the option to throw or run. George Cortez will call that play, send it in, and then let Burris make the decision.
Second and short, Burris will duck under and get the first down and move the chains.
Really makes Greg Peach and Kai Ellis and their responsibilities, puts a lot of pressure on them on the outside, because the defensive ends are the players that are being read on the play. So Kai Ellis, if he goes inside, he's wrong. If he goes up the field or Greg Peach tries to contain, he's wrong. That's where Maurice Lloyd has to fill in.
Rob Cote lines up as a wide out for Calgary. Burris with a strike up at the 50-yard line. Brett Ralph the catch.
So we'll give you another look at the X's and O's. One of the favorite plays of the Calgary Stampeders, and that's the zone read play. And there's the junction point where Henry Burris reads the end. If he crashes down, then he keeps the ball and stays outside with that option to run or throw. Same play, same look. If the end stays upfield, now he gives it to Joffrey Reynolds, and now Maurice Lloyd comes into it. He's got to step up and make the play on the running back.
Final half minute, third quarter. First down Calgary. Quick hitter over the head of Robbie Bryant.
Couple of overthrows in this game for Henry Burris. Had one early in the first half that might have moved the chains. He does have a second chance here in second and long.
Nick Lewis, a 100-yard game. Joffrey Reynolds approaching that. They have been the key weapons today for a Stampeder offense that is enjoying the 2-point lead. Second and 10. Looking downfield for Brett Ralph, and he overthrows him just off the outstretched fingertips. And Ralph found a little open room down the sidelines. End of 3 quarters of play in a tight Western semifinal. Third quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Well, the numbers were identical in the first quarter, real close in the second half. Now Calgary starting to pull away. You see the third quarter yardage, 110 yards for the Stamps, just 37 for the Edmonton Eskimos. Remember, their score came off a kickoff return.
So that has to be a concern for Richie Hall. His team is going to get the ball here to start the fourth quarter, but the offense has bogged down after 2 pretty decent weeks.
Yeah, but they have had their opportunities, especially when they try and push the ball deep down the field. I don't think they should go away from that. They've had some open receivers, just missed them, but that doesn't mean you go away from it. They have some chance for some big plays.
In for a heck of a finish.
No question. Aren't we always with these two teams? Or at least it seems that way. Even the last game here in McMahon Stadium where Calgary blew out the Edmonton Eskimos 30-7, it was 17-6 after 3 quarters.
Dales will try and hit Edmonton. Big boot. Skylar Green's going to let it go into the end zone. And that's out for a single point. And so it's a 3-point lead. Better field position for Edmonton, and Dales wasn't intending to get the single. Well, prior to the game, a solemn Remembrance Day salute to our troops.
Every Friday night, of course, we salute the troops as well, and then would like to also salute and thank the troops for what they do around the world. Meet Lieutenant Pierre Vincent Dague, a member of the Canadian Police Mentoring Team. He's on patrol here just south of Kandahar City. Canadian Forces offer support to local Afghan authorities.
Matthew Bertrand cut down for the second time in this game after a catch, and this time Shannon James.
We have over 66,000 troops around the world and over 3,000 in Afghanistan. And Pierre Vincent Daig taking care of some of the locals, and that's what the great things that they're doing in Afghanistan and in over 16 missions, UN and NATO missions around the world.
Eskimos have converted 3 of 11. Second and longs. 2nd and 10 here. Ricky Ray underneath, and that was almost picked off by Dwayne Carpenter. Boy, you'd like to have that back.
Yeah, you could just see it coming too, because Dwayne Carpenter was closing in a hurry. I don't think Ricky Ray ever saw him. He's right in the middle of your screen right here, looking like he might go deep, but he doesn't. He just comes out to the left side of the formation defensively for Calgary. Ricky Ray doesn't see him in chase, I don't believe, because he throws that out in front, and I thought that was going to the house. All he had to do was hang on.
No Stampeder linebacker has an interception this year. That was close to being the first. Not a deep kick by Prefontaine. And it bounces out at the Calgary bench. Great field position for the Stamps after a 30-yard boot.
This is nice. A little more to the left.
To the left, eh? Yeah, it's been bugging me too. Don't move. It's gonna look so much better. There. Now I can relax.
With Rona by Design, it's easy to create the look you've always wanted. Rona, doing it right.
I'm here to provide Lana Russo with the right investment advice.
I'm here to help a merger work.
I'm here to help customers with their everyday banking needs.
I'm here for my small business clients.
I'm here to help a private company go public.
I'm here for Pat Farber, who's been a CIBC client for over 60 years.
I'm here to work for my clients for the long term.
I'm here for customers who are new to Canada.
I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm here for what matters.
Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour, madame.
La vie, Grand Marnier.
Well, after Skylar Green's kickoff return for a touchdown, we can tell you that William Reed of Okotoks, you have just won a 2009 Nissan Rogue SL thanks to Safeway's touchdown to win. And congratulations, William. If another kickoff is returned, you could win $1 million.
We just got Williams' attention, didn't we? Probably a Calgary fan from Okotoks, but cheering that Eskimo kick return, and there's a first-down grab by Robbie Bryant. He's been relatively quiet, but Nick Lewis has been big tonight.
Nick Lewis is the option on that zone read play we showed you, and he's one of the options in the passing game when Henry Burris fakes it to Joffrey Reynolds. One of the reasons he has over 100 yards. Had another 100-yard game versus Edmonton back in their first meeting. Was relatively quiet in their last 3, but another 100-yard game already for Nick Lewis.
Stamps first down at the Eskimo 50-yard line. Burris straddled the line of scrimmage to get it away to Brett Ralph. Close to the line, but I think he did a good job of staying in a legal passing position.
See right at the 50-yard line. Henry Burris, there's the fake. There goes Kai Ellis, and you're right. Just straddles it. The ball behind the line when he lets go. You have to look at the football. and where it is in relationship to that line of scrimmage.
21-yard gain, bunch formation short side. And now Burris downfield, end zone. Rumby Bryant touchdown. And both former Bombers, R.J. Franklin and Robbie Bryant, have hit pay dirt in the Western Semi.
What a throw from Henry Burris, who puts this on a rope to Robbie Bryant.
Without a touchdown all year, Bryant has his first as a Stampeder in the Western Semi.
Play action to Joffrey Reynolds, right on a rope in between the two Edmonton defenders. Robbie Bryant has himself a touchdown in the semifinal.
3 plays, 64 yards. And Calgary now has their first 2-score lead. Extra point from DeAngelis. And the Stamps lead by 9. (24-14), it's a 10-point Calgary lead.
Robbie Bryant straight down the seam here. First of all, is going to take advantage of Byron Parker peeking in the backfield and not staying in his back pedal in man-to-man. But watch how the throw is on a rope. There's Parker here closing. You got the safety. That's a small window. And Henry Burris puts it right on the money in that window. Nice hard throw for the touchdown to Robbie Bryant.
Whitlock on the return. And a good one. Up near the 45, but the Eskimos have to get this offense back in gear now. 10 points down, 11:40 to go, so time not an issue yet.
No, lots and lots of time, but Ricky Ray has to start getting the offense moving and try and take advantage of those opportunities deep if he gets another one. He had some early that they didn't hook up on, but now it looks like Henry Burris is getting into his zone. He had a good drive there, and that was a perfect pass. Now it's Ricky Ray's turn to match.
Eskimos had 507 yards against BC last week. They've scored 81 points in the previous 2 games, but they've gotten quiet here today. Calvin McCarty, that ball popped loose. McCarty looked like he reeled it back in at the 50 and has 5.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't mean that Kevin Strasser has to start thinking about bombs away every play. 2nd and 5, continue to move the chains. Lots of time left on the clock is a good situation. But if they get the opportunity deep, like they had the opportunities in the first half, well, they got to make the plays now.
Looks like they're going to the double tight end. Graham Bell is in. Matt Bertrand, the other tight end. 2nd and 5. Short drop, Ephraim Hill, first down. Brought down by Dwight Anderson just on the Calgary side of half.
When you bring in tight ends like that, now you put your wide receiver in Ephraim Hill, you put him really on an island with Dwight Anderson in the corner. So now Ricky Ray has basically an option route to Ephraim Hill. If Dwight Anderson plays inside, they throw the out. If he plays outside, they throw the in. That time it was the outside cut.
Receivers with McCarty as the lone back. 1st and 10. Ray. McCarty. And Malik Jackson there to ease him out near the first down chain. They'll mark him at the 45, and it's a pickup of close to 9.
It's really a sign of respect when Chris Jones, the defensive coordinator for the Calgary Stampeders, plays so much zone defense against Edmonton. This is not a zone defense team. This is a man-to-man team. This is a pressure team. This is an in-your-face defense. But Chris Jones against Ricky Ray, it's a pay of respect to say, we're going to play more zone against you, make you patient.
2nd and about a yard and a half. And Whitlock should have it.
Especially tough on Kevin Strasser in that the friendly rivalry that they have. Opposite sidelines, former teammates, Strasser and Chris Jones in Montreal for 5 years. And Now Strasser has to be patient. He has to take those underneath throws. The Calvin McCarty has to keep the run game, because Chris Jones against this team does not play nearly as much man-to-man as he does against others.
Have a measurement that gives Ricky Ray a chance to get to the sidelines and meet up with Kevin Strasser, trying to even his record at 5-5 as the offensive coordinator, replacing Rick Warman at midseason. And it is a first down, and this is a critical drive for the Eskimos. They need some points. Of course, the Ticats, what were they down 11 with just over 2 minutes to go? And
oh, there's lots of time. There's lots of time.
Pressure. Here comes the blitz. Mikey Whitlock. Oh, just tripped up by Shannon James, or he's still running.
Well, you're right, because Wes Lysak, the safety, had come out of the middle, and Shannon James was playing the backside of the play. So Shannon James is on the backside, nobody in the middle, and if Archie Whitlock can squirt through here, he has got a big gainer, and Shannon James just trips him up.
6 for Whitlock, 2nd and 4. Gets it away, and it's broken up. Flags fly. They're going to call Shannon James. Defending against Kamau Peterson.
Well, you know, I think early on, and I watched that matchup from the beginning, I saw Kamau Peterson try and come across the middle. Shannon James was real physical with him all the way through the route. I didn't really see the interference at the point of attack.
There are 2 different flags down.
I mean, when the ball arrived, it looked like a pretty clean knockdown by James, but there was a lot of contact prior to that point.
Pass interference, Calgary number 23, 10-yard penalty, major foul, roughing a passer, low hit, number 39, Calgary. 15-yard penalty.
Charleston Hughes also, so a double whammy at 25 yards.
Well, this is big, because first of all, the pass interference gives them the first down, and then they'll add on yardage. To the left of your screen, you're going to see Kamau Peterson right over the middle. Right there is Shannon James. They're battling. There's physical play right there from James. The knockdown was decent, but physical before that was the call, and there's the low hit, and that'll be called every time.
So the ball marked inside the Calgary 15. Because of the half the distance, it's actually a 24-yard penalty. Penalties. Eskimos in business. Trying to cut into this 10-point deficit. Looks to the end zone. Jump ball! Incomplete. Another flag, and I think it's going to be Charleston Hughes again.
He put the hit on Ricky Ray just as he was throwing the ball.
Major foul, roughing a passer. Number 39, Calgary, half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Back to back.
And that'll be again half the distance. Charleston Hughes right down here in the stand-up position at the rush end spot. Up the field, bites the play action, then redirects. Goes high to the head this time. A low hit the first one, and then high. I don't think it was too late. It was just he launched himself up into the head of Ricky Ray right there.
So it's 1st and goal at the 7. Ray outside for Stamps. He can't bring it down. Punished by Keon Raymond.
A 10-point game. Ricky Ray does not have to force it. He needs the field goal and the touchdown. I know it's tempting down in here. If you want to capitalize on this drive, especially when you get back-to-back penalties getting you on the doorstep like this. 2nd and 1 now.
You know, there are critics that are saying you're at the 7. Can't you find a receiver deeper into the end zone or take a shot into the end zone?
And the timing was a little off on that throw as well. They waited way too long to get it out of there.
31 yards of penalties on the drive. Second and goal. That's in the end zone. And it is going to be marked at inside the one. They were marking at the one, but he didn't get in. A foot short for Ephraim Hill. And it's third and goal at the one.
Timing route from Ephraim Hill. I believe he's working on Brandon Browner, and he's just going to go like this on the timing out. The ball's on its way, but I'm not sure the ball crossed the plane. He gets hit here. His feet were in, but I'm not sure the ball was.
That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. And somebody should be throwing the challenge flag here. They are, and they're going to go for it on third down. That's a touchdown. And the Eskimos may have crossed the line twice.
Well, okay, you're right, Chris, and had they not scored on that 1-yard plunge there, wow, how does that change this game? Because when I look back at it, here's the one-yard plunge, so it becomes irrelevant really in that Edmonton scores on the next play. Had they not crossed the plane there though on third down, and it goes back to no challenge on the Ephraim Hill. But
nonetheless, the Eskimos did what they had to do. 9 plays, 65 yards. They got some penalty help, and they're now within 3. The CFL on TSN West semifinal is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the Canadian Football League. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right since 1939. Oh, we've got overtime once today. Is it possible we're
So KT came back in?
destined to go again? 3-point game, 7 minutes left, and the ball on the carpet. And quickly scooped up. Demetrius Summers, who's had a good return, has had an adventure down there, and we've got Tim St. Pierre back on the turf in some difficulty. He's been shaken up a couple of times today.
Made first contact on that hit down the field. He's
Hamilton native out of St. Mary's University, and what an all-round athlete, a world junior kickbox champion. He was drafted in the Ontario Hockey League, and he has been a special teams demon for the Eskimos. Find out what happened to him.
Oh, you could see his left leg, his left knee sort of buckled under him. His right knee.
Well, Henry Burris anxious to get back to it after those 3 quick strikes on the last drive, resulting in a touchdown to Robbie Bryant.
And it wasn't just the production offensively, it was how they were producing it. It was good decisions, first of all, by Henry Burris, but I like the command in the passing game as he's putting that ball on a rope. And that was how it ended with Robbie Bryant in the end zone. It's like he is getting into that zone.
Just 5 touchdown passes in the final 8 games of the regular season. But a couple here today.
But 2 of those games, Chris, against Edmonton, 1 of them, and BC, over 300 yards passing. He only had 1 touchdown in both of those games, but he did have over 300 yards. And remember, his first game against the Eskimos was close to 500 yards passing, 479.
Yeah, that was his best game of the year. 3 of his 4 top games against Edmonton. He is 37 yards short of 300 today at 263. As St. Pierre makes his way to the sidelines for the second time, trying to play through the pain, and he may still be back out there for the next special team play. Reynolds stopped. Defense fired up. Then a big second and long comes up for Calgary.
TJ Hill's made a few big plays down the stretch for the Edmonton Eskimos. A couple interceptions for touchdowns. Jim Daly, defense coordinator, has a big decision to make here in second and long. They've been backing up on Henry Burrs and giving him some throwing lanes. Do they send pressure as he tries to signal in this very important defensive call?
Calgary's hit on 4-12, second and longs. Second and 9. And they screen it. Reynolds through the traffic, and he went down at about the 28-yard line. He'll be short of the first down.
Great play here for the Calgary Stampeders. Three-man pressure for Edmonton. So Jim Daly's decision was not to blitz, was not to send more pressure. In this case, he's going to just send 3. He shows like he's going to blitz with Maurice Lloyd up in the line of scrimmage. He also has Scott Gordon, the safety, just outside of your screen to the left. And then they drop out. They have three-man pressure. Not as easy to screen when you drop that many defenders, and Joffrey Reynolds is cut down.
Looked like he may have tripped up on one of his blockers. He comes up 2 yards short. And a kicking situation, although John Huffnagel took a while to make sure he sized up how long the third down gamble would be.
Important defensive call there from Jim Daly. He decided to drop everybody. It worked well. Oh boy. Edmonton Eskimos anxiously pointing to Calgary.
Looks like time count.
Time count violation. Calgary number 16. 5-yard penalty remains. Third down.
I did a quick count because Edmonton Eskimos have too many men out there here.
So they changed their return alignment. Now just one man back. They put a little pressure on Burke Dales here. Dales gets it away, and it's a beauty. Skylar Green back at his 30. Wayne Carpenter meets him at the 42. 56-yard punt. Well, the Calgary Stampeders family mourning the loss of one of their legendary names, Tony Anselmo, in the builder category, really influential in converting McMahon Stadium into what it is today. He was inducted into the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame, a past president, a World War II veteran, and at 91 years of age, Tony Anselmo passing away this week. Our condolences to the family and to the Stampeders. Big catch into Calgary territory at the 47-yard line.
All the battles throughout the regular season, the highs and the lows. Both these quarterbacks have gone through the highs and the lows, and their entire football season comes down to the next 4.5 minutes. And a good start on this drive for the Edmonton Eskimos in decent field position and a big play on first down.
Third catch for Stamps, a 21-yarder. He has 70 on the day. Eskimos close to field goal range and down by 3. Whitlock looking for crease, and what a jolt that was. We do have a marker down. Charleston Hughes with the tackle. A penalty flag back a little further in the secondary.
I saw Kamal Peterson trying to block Dwight Anderson coming in to help out on that tackle. I'm not sure if he got called on a bit of a holding there.
Holding. Edmonton number 8. A 10-yard penalty remains first down.
There's Kamal, a former Stampeder. He was with Calgary when they won it in 2001.
There's Dwight Anderson, 33, trying to close in and turn Archie Whitlock in, and you could see how Kamal Peterson turned his shoulders on the holding call.
Penalty's really not an issue until the last 2 Edmonton series. First and 20 back at the Eskimo 53. He's got to move outside, 4 flags. 2 flags down as the catch is made at the Eskimo bench by Barnes. First one looked like holding, and I'm not sure if the Eskimos are going to drop both flags or not.
The first one, I believe, was Joe McGrath, number 63.
And both flags might have been for the same infraction.
Holding Edmonton, number 63. A 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
So it's first down, but now it's 1st and 30.
Joe McGrath is working on Charleston Hughes, and he makes an inside move here. He gets his arm around his neck and throws him to the ground. That's holding. That's why Ricky Ray got to the outside.
Well, they were on the cusp of field goal range. 1st and 30. What do you got? You got pressure and down to go. And there's the first Calgary sack of the game.
They're going backwards.
Devon Claybrooks.
Boy, this drive, Chris, started with such promise for the Edmonton Eskimos. Fred Stamps a nice gain on first down, then a Kamal Peterson penalty. A holding call on Joe McGrath, a sack, and all of a sudden Calgary defensively grabs a ton of momentum.
First sack of the year for Claybrooks. 2nd and 40. Haven't had a 40-yard play yet today. Stamps underneath on the crosser. And he'll be cut down at the 38-yard line. Well, that was a huge momentum series for the Calgary defense at the 3-minute warning. Under 3 minutes remaining and nothing decided yet. Some anxious coaches on the sideline. Marcus Crandall and Kevis Reed of the Saskatchewan Roughriders here scouting who's going to Mosaic Stadium for the Western Final next Sunday. Booted away by Prefontaine and Marcus Howell at his 26. Lunging ahead to the 35.
Calgary Stampeders got a huge shot in the arm there from their defense. And now can the Edmonton Eskimo defense do the same? Because that was a promising drive from the beginning of that play to Fred Stamps for Edmonton that turned out disastrous. A couple of holding calls and then a sack. The Calgary defense responds. Can the Edmonton defense respond now? They almost have to.
A defense that during the regular season ranked last against the pass has to dig in now. Reynolds on the run. Come on, Nick! Jason Goss brings him down across the 40-yard line.
Jason Goss sacrificed there because he threw his body in there. And if he doesn't make this hit, Joffrey Reynolds is still running. He got the corner. A little bit of slow pursuit angles from the Edmonton defense. He got the corner there. You could see the opening. And Jason Goss is the Edmonton Eskimos' only hope, and he throws himself in there and takes the worst of that hit.
Goss, outweighed by over 30 pounds, got the worst of that. And a big run on first down for Reynolds of 8 yards. He's at 93 on the night. Mentioned the Saskatchewan Roughriders are here. Marcus Crandall tracking the game, and back in 2001 he was the toast of this town, leading Calgary to that unexpected Grey Cup after an 8-10 season.
That's Kevis Reed also on the Rider staff beside him. And yes, you can get the game video, you can study that, which they will, and you can watch it on television as well, which the rest of the coaching staff is doing tonight. But it's another thing to get to the game and watch the rhythm of the game, watch the pace of the game, get a good feeling for what both teams are trying to do, because as you mentioned with 2:23, the outcome's still up for grabs.
Oh, while we have this opportunity, let's check our game story in this Western semi.
121 yards of offense for Joffrey Reynolds. Nick Lewis has his 100 yards. on the game. A Romby Bryant touchdown and a R.J. Franklin touchdown for the Calgary Stampeders.
You know, R.J. Franklin hadn't done much coming over to Calgary, but he said, you know, when they need me to make a big play, I'll be there. And he was in the end zone here in the second half. And will the Franklin Bryant touchdowns be enough on the day as they continue to be careful with Jason Goss? And now out comes Richie Hall. Goss on his feet.
Well, and this is a big one for the Edmonton Eskimos. That's their starting corner now. And as this drive continues here, Edmonton's going to have to start to gamble. They're going to have to send pressure, send as many as they can, and see if they can't get a sack or a loss for Calgary, get that ball back. But that means their defensive secondary is in basic man-to-man coverage, and they're going to have to juggle it around now. Put Anthony Malbrough outside on the corner on the wide side and move Byron Parker into the boundary at corner on the short side of the field.
There's the veteran Malbrough. 2nd and 2. And Reynolds the handoff and has the, well, let's see. Up to the 44, and he's going to be close to that first down.
You know, it's just amazing when your running back can get that. When you see Ristelli, you see the safety Gordon, you see Maurice Lloyd, all deciding to fill gaps with the 4 defensive linemen and saying, we are going to stop the run here. And yet with all those gaps filled, Reynolds still bangs it around and gets it to where they have to measure for a first down when he was 2 yards away.
The sticks out here. The spot might have come up a little short. That much. So we've got a 3rd down gamble for John Huffnagel. And a little more drama with 1:59 on the clock.
Well, with only an inch, you've got to believe in your offensive line, and you've got to believe in the running and athletic ability of your quarterback and Henry Burris if you're John Huffnagel. Yes, it's a tense moment, obviously, in your own end of the field, but it can work in their favor if they get it. It takes a few more seconds off the clock and continues to move the chains.
Eskimos front up to make sure they're going to give a yard, so they want to know exactly where they can put their hands so there is no offside. They're down, not much, and maybe that final push with Reynolds in behind Henry Burris was enough to move the chains, and it is.
Well, there was 1 second effort from number 1 because initially he did not have it. A good push by the Edmonton defensive line. Stood up Henry Burris, but he didn't quit. He didn't have it there, and you could see the second effort, the second push. And then he slid over the right side of Dimitri Supas and did get it, just barely.
TJ Hill came over the top and made it interesting. Clock running. Joffrey Reynolds down at the 51-yard line. Tackle made by a former Calgary Stampeder, Justin Brown. 5 for Reynolds, and over 100 on the day.
Timeout. Edmonton.
Eskimos stop the clock. Reynolds has his first postseason 100-yard rushing game.
Calgary Stampeders get 100 yards rushing from Joffrey Reynolds. They are 27-1.
And those winning odds even go up further when they get a 100-yard receiving game, and they got that from Nick Lewis. So the usual suspects checked in for duty today for Calgary. But this is a big play now. This is potential ball game play as the Eskimos have used their timeout and need a stop on 2nd and 5. So Reed Burris takes off, first down, and hits the deck in Edmonton territory. Corey, and that's a huge first down for the Calgary Stampeders.
You know, and it's so big because it's all in the decision-making process for Henry Burris on that play. We drew it up for you early in the game. Here it is again, folks. They run it brilliantly, the zone read. Kai Ellis is the guy they're reading. If he comes down on Reynolds, which he does, then Henry Burris has the corner and a first down.
Into the final minute. Reynolds, high stepping. That's the nail in the coffin. .27 yards for the most valuable player in the West in 2009.
And it's been all Joffrey Reynolds, with the exception of the one play where Henry Burris faked it to Reynolds in this very, very important series. Was over 2 minutes left in the game when the Calgary Stampeders got the ball.
Now they can let it run out, and that was the difference. On the ground today, close to 200 yards for the Calgary Stampeders. The celebrations are on. In the regular season games, they chalked up 478 yards rushing in 4 games against Edmonton. And the chance of watching their team play at home in the Grey Cup game is still alive for Calgary Stampeder fans.
You've got to walk it like you talk it. Henry Burris said when they lost in Saskatchewan, we'll be back.
And they will be going back to Mosaic, setting up quite a Western final. Clock's run out, and the Calgary Stampeders prevail. John Hufnagel is going to lead his Stamps back to Regina to meet the Saskatchewan Roughriders in this year's Western Final. Ricky Ray and Henry Burris, and on this day, number 1 was the better man. Time now for the TSN Turning Point.
Fourth quarter, TSN Turning Point. Robbie Bryant, a perfect throw from Henry Burris to cap off the drive and give the Calgary Stampeders a 10-point lead.
TSN Turning Point brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the Canadian Football League. So the Calgary Stampeders were 0-2-1 against the Rough Riders in the regular season, but they get another shot at Saskatchewan, and they remain alive with a chance of playing at home in the Grey Cup game. Let's go down to the field and join Jermaine Franklin.
Henry, can you talk about the play of this team, especially in the second half? You guys came up big when you needed it.
I'll tell you, we had some opportunities in the first half to, put the ball in the end zone. And, Edmonton did a good job of holding us to only 3 points. I missed a couple throws early on, and I got opportunity to get those in the third and the fourth quarter more so. And we were able to cash in on some big points, and this is a huge win. It's always tough to win the semifinal, especially against such a hot team in Edmonton.
Talk about the touchdowns, Robbie Bryant and R.J. Franklin, 2 guys. You said it would take time. Looks like they settled in the offense just in time.
Yeah, definitely. Those guys have been clutch for us. And just because of their knowledge of the game and experience that they've had, from the years past, it's proven big for us at this time. And those guys were hungry tonight. And they said, Hank, we're going to do whatever we can to get open for you. And in critical situations, they did just that.
Can you talk about the play of Joffrey Reynolds coming up big in this playoff performance? That's Patrick Kabongo giving you congratulations as well.
Yeah, I tell you, Joffrey was clutch. There's a reason why we say he's the MOP in this league. This is the year of the running back, so there you go. You got to take the man with the plan. And, we rode him in the fourth quarter to run this clock out, him and the O-line, and they did a masterful job. And now we're looking forward to getting back to Saskatchewan, and hopefully we can make things right.
Thanks, Henry.
Hey, appreciate it, guys.
Henry Burris and the offense did enough, and how about that defensive push when Ricky Ray and the Eskimos looked like they were in field goal range late in the fourth quarter. So it will be Calgary and Saskatchewan, BC and Montreal. We'll see you next Sunday. Time now for Football Night in America. Joined in progress.